Semiotic translation. The present article explains the tenets of an updated version of semiotic translation. Many of the ideas in this paper have been brewing for some time. For example, the integration of the Peircean notions of sign and abduction and the Wittgensteinian concepts of rule following, complex fact, and hypothesis. It turns out that this synthesis leads to some new proposals about translation semiotics that seek to move the field from the reification of objects, concepts, and practices towards a broader conception of translation and translating, centered on the translator's agency. What this means is, among other things, that semiotic translation avoids a delimitation of signification, things and actions conveying meaning, by rejecting any conceptual appeals tinged with foundationalism. Rather, my argument will concentrate on elucidating the unpredictability of semiosis as a determinant of all forms of translation across science systems. Peircean abduction. Abduction is a form of inference whereby a surprising event triggers a chain of informed guesses that create the link between potentialities and facts. According to the pragmatic maxim, the meaning of the sign is constructed after a process of hypothesis making, abduction, and practical validation. Consider what effects that might conceivably have practical bearings we conceive the object of our conception to have. Then our conception of these effects is the whole of our conception of the object. As shown in Figure 1, a surprising event creates a curvature in the first plane. This causes a sudden change of trajectory of the line of reasoning in the second plane, whereby a new inferential object emerges. Finally, the new inferential object deforms the third plane, thereby creating new concepts. The vertical axis represents an informed guess issued from our imagination and considered as a premise to both deduction and induction in the horizontal axis. Thus, abduction furnishes the reasoner with a problematic theory, which induction verifies. The target text is not simply a symbolic rendering of the source text, but a spatial complex, a composite of signs at a specific time and place. Ein Komplex besteht aus seinen Teilen, den gleichartigen Dingen, die ihn bilden. Therefore, translation is not a fact, its existence is. This means that, while the characteristics of design systems, those of spatial objects, can be named and described by means of propositions, these propositions cannot be considered as complexes. Put differently, any potential translation transforms a source text complex into a target text complex, which is ultimately determined by abductive reasoning. That is, the step of adopting the hypothesis is being suggested by the facts, in a specific translational practice regulated by context-driven rules. Clearly, abduction, an explanatory hypothesis, produces target text complexes. A good way to summarize the above statement is this: any translation is a proposition. A proposition is a complex. Complexes are true because they exist as facts. Their existence as fact is warranted by our cognitive affordances, and not by logical operations. Wittgenstein's rule-following argument and Peirce's abduction cannot be unified as follows. Abduction is the substratum to inference, while rule-following constrains abduction. In other words, an informed guess emerging in the realm of firstness finds its way into a deductive change of reasoning in secondness, that, however, does not contain in itself a future development in thirdness. See Figure 6. This is what I call abductive rule-following, that is, the abductive emergence of signed rules as a manifestation of understanding.